which I think was one of the most extensive prosthetic makeup shows historically, just by mere number. I'll take one question. It's a joke.
God.
Got like 2 minutes of information in there. Are you kidding? Okay. Who's got some? Kidding. It's a joke. Go. Huh. It's a good question. The question was, how did we come up with the complexion of the aliens for Alien Nation? Actually, we used various books of creatures in the characters from Alien Nation. Their head designs, basically, the textures and their design came from creatures these were actually fish formations, fish designs on their head. Okay. No. No. I was told to. Yes, guy in the back with your hand up there with the guy, person. A movie called No Name Norm. This is a planted question. I just introduced, and that's a plant. This man has been paid. I'll tell you a little about a No Name Norm if there are no other. There is a question here, and I'll end up with that because it's very dear to me. Yes.
Yeah, it's in there, dude.
Any plans for those skulls?
No, I mean, the alien skull that was in Predator 2.
Yes.
Is there any plans to combine the two characters in the story, Predator and Alien?
There is in a comic book. Whether there will be a film combination of Aliens and Predator, I don't know.
It's possible.
At this time, I haven't heard of
Hollywood,
it.
it's possible.
Yes.
Will there be a Pumpkinhead sequel?
Will there be a Pumpkinhead sequel? People have approached me about it, but that's nothing definite and not something that I probably would want to be involved in. Yes. Why? Because I'm done with Pumpkinhead. I think he was a wonderful character, and I would like for him to lay there in the grave. You want it to? Fine, I'll do a Pumpkinhead sequel. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll call him tomorrow when it's done. Yes. About who? No, I'm not involved with Alien 3 at all. No.
Then it sucks.
No.
It's a piece of shit.
I wouldn't. You kidding? Yes.
How'd you get involved with Sticks and the Mr. Roboto project?
Because they had seen Heartbeats. And Dennis DeYoung contacted me and wanted to know if I would, consider designing Mr. Roboto for them because they had seen, as I said, Heartbeats. They'd also seen The Wiz, and that was the kind of feeling they were looking for. Next, who? Yes. How did I enjoy directing as opposed to makeup? I love directing. I love directing probably more than anything, but I also love creating creatures. So I'm very lucky in that I'm not one of those people who is doing this, but I wish that I were doing that. I love what I'm doing when I'm doing it. I love working on, I must say, working for Jim Cameron as a director on Terminator 2 is no picnic. But when you see what happens, what's come from it, it's worthwhile. But I would say, honestly, I love nothing more than directing. Fortunately, I've sort of made a commitment, and I will say this to you. People have said, what about directing things that don't have to do with the creatures? And I won't do that. So I don't want to stay away from bringing new fantasy characters to the audiences. And so when I direct, whenever there's a new film directed by Stan Winston, it will be introducing a new fantasy character also. Yes? Yes. Yes.
How do you keep in that team in the movie Terminator to get along?
How did I and who in the Terminator and Luke get along?
The 10-year-old, the boy.
In Terminator 2, and Eddie's wonderful. Eddie's wonderful. You'll meet him. He's just a terrific young man. And there'd have to be something wrong with you not to be able to get along with Eddie. He's a really terrific young man. Yes?
Are there any health problems that you face working with the material?
Yes. Absolutely. There. Do I feel problem? Any time that you work with any kinds of chemicals, whenever you work with fiberglass resins, whenever you work with polyfoams, anything like that, yes, there are definite chemical hazards, and we do everything we possibly can at my studio to protect people. We have an extremely elaborate air ventilation system. Everyone must wear chemical masks when they work with it. And unfortunately, a lot of people who don't understand the risks of working with chemicals like this, who want to do it at their home or by themselves or in their garage. The background of the Predator is very interesting. There was another creature that was developed for Predator originally that, for whatever reasons, wasn't what the producer and the director wanted. So it came to me at the very last moment, actually after the film was made, already finished. And they had a concept, and their concept was this warrior, which is very similar to what you've seen, which is what the Predator was. And I took that concept of this somewhat Rastafarian warrior that they had already come up with, and I started sketching. And while I was on the plane flying to Japan with Jim Cameron for us to do we were doing a symposium. I think it was on the combination of art and technology, and it had to do with aliens. So Jim and I were flying, and I was drawing some stuff with claws, and he had mentioned to me something about, because I hope I did this right. This is going to be a real bummer if this was really my idea, and I'm crediting Jim with this, the idea of the claw-like, whether it was an insect or whatever, pincer face, and I started drawing the Predator while I was flying with Jim to do this aliens presentation.
Cool.
Yes. Who? Over
That
there.
was cool. See, that's the way it happens too.
No, I've never worked with Tom Savini. I've never met Tom Savini, but I'm a fan of his. I think he does some really nice stuff. Yes.
How producers or directors when they do training for you, or they to do with creativity what you want to do?
It depends on the producer and the director.
Generally.
It really isn't general. If the director is an artist and has a really good vision, like Jim Cameron has always come to me with his vision. He had designed the look of the Terminator when I first met him, and that was before there was even a script. The same thing with the Alien Queen. If the director is not an artist, I mean a visual artist, usually I am free to design as I care to design. In the case of someone like Tim Burton is a cartoonist. He's a cartoon artist. So he would have a concept of his characters in a very rough, cartoony sketch, which he gave to me, and then I would develop from there. But it's always different. Yes?
Yeah, out of all the work you've done and all the creatures you've created, do you have a personal favorite, or do you have one that you feel was...
Yes, I have a personal favorite, which is such a good hint. My personal favorite's not out there yet, and it's Norm. And I'm looking for he's before Norm, I would say there were three favorites. It was the Terminator, the Predator, and the Alien Queen. Those have been two out of three of those. It's interesting how you stay in a family. 2 out of 3 of those have been Jim Cameron films. 2 out of 3 of those have been Arnold Schwarzenegger films. So it's always, out of those 3, it's always been Stan Winston and Jim Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is so fun. Next was, and the one that's coming out is a gnome named Norm, who is in fact a gnome. And unfortunately, I can't talk to you about him technically because there's nothing technical to talk about. He's a real live gnome, and he comes from underground. And it's the first time I've seen a fantasy character that